Welcome. Today we have a very special guest here again. It's Sharon Laflamme. She sits in Florida, USA, and she is a trained yoga teacher. And also, she knows a lot about the human nervous system, especially when it comes to the neurodivergent nervous system. Now, she is giving us a very special present today. She's going to give us a nervous system regulation meditation. So I give the stage to you, Sharon.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. And I'm also a certified somatic experiencing practitioner, and that's in trauma, which is how I've learned and worked with the biology of the body. So, for those of us that don't understand how important it is for that parasympathetic nervous system, that's the parts of you that can relax the body, heal the body, restore the body, nourish the body. It does it all on its own when we can get into that state. So let's just take a little bit of time. I'm going to invite you to find a spot that's comfortable for your body. Ask it, how do I want to be? Do I want to lay down? Do I want to sit down? What's the best to support my neck, my body, whatever needs to be done? And then I'm going to invite you to just orient to the room, meaning look for safety and instead of danger, because we really got the danger down good, but we want to look for something that looks good, a beautiful color, a beautiful sound, some picture that makes your heart happy. And then notice that I like this room, the temperature is good, and come into your body. And best way that happens for me is I close my eyes and I draw my attention inward. And I'm inviting you to do the same thing. And then I'm going to invite you to notice the skin that surrounds your entire body. This is your outer boundary. This is the difference between you and the outer world. So I'm going to invite you to notice the skin that is clothed. How does that feel? Notice the warmth, and notice if you can detect where the boundary of the skin ends and that piece of fabric is, and how does that fabric feel? And then I'm going to invite you to notice the skin that has no clothing on it, that's exposed. And notice how that feels. The skin has got the air on it. Do you like that? And then I'm going to invite you to notice your eyes. And I'm going to invite you to soften the corners of your eyes and the eyeball, and maybe even let the eyeball fall back into the skull and drop down. I'm going to invite you to notice with that closed lid, she's what you're perceiving and noticing in the depths of your brain. Maybe allow the lid and eyebrows to soften. Then I'm going to invite you to smell. What do you smell in the outer world of your room? Something that draws your attention and might be nice smelling. Can you bring that in and enjoy it? And then I'm going to invite you to bring the sense of smell closer to your actual body. Maybe you're smelling a cologne or clothing. What can you detect? Smell. Then I'm going to invite you to taste. Let your tongue move all through your mouth. Roof of the mouth, bottom to sides. Suck in a little, bring it around the teeth. Bring the saliva in. What are you tasting? What do you taste? And notice if it's pleasant or not. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your sense of hearing and attune it to outside your building. Can you find a noise that's happening outside? And now tune your hearing to your building. What's drawing your attention? And notice, is it pleasant or annoying or what? Just noticing. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your hearing sense right into the room you're in. What is grabbing your attention there? And listen with all your attention. And now bring the sense of hearing to your body. Body might be making sounds or gurgling or breathing. Just listen for a sound. And now we're going to bring your awareness to your touch. So notice where your hands are and your fingertips. And notice the quality of the temperature of your hands. And wherever they're laying, notice the fabric or whatever they're laying on. How does that feel? What's that texture like? What's that temperature like? What if you moved your hands back and forth so slightly? How does that feel? And what if you put some pressure down upon the surface with your hands? How does that feel? And what if you let go of the pressure? Notice what happens. And what if you gave a little, if you put your hands on your body and you gave a little squeeze? Does that feel safe? Do you like that touch? And what if you squeezed harder or softer? Where does your body like that squeeze or touch? And does that feel safe to you? Do you find a place that feels good, that you're like hugged and held, and I like it? And then I'm going to invite you to let go of the touch and just notice as you let go that that's okay, right? It's okay to let go. Just let it be. And let's just notice the breath as the breath comes in and out. And that's always an indication of the state of our being. So I'm going to invite you to keep your awareness on your breath without trying to change it. Just be aware. Let the inhale come in, the exhale come out. Notice how your body responds. It has to make space for the inhale, and it has to push the exhale. Notice what's happening in your body. Deep in there, staying with the breath only. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just gently bring your awareness back to the breath. And notice, has my breath changed since I gave it attention? And oftentimes we find it's deepened or softened or lengthened or something. So make friends with your breath. And as you exhale your next exhale, let it know that we're going to come back to our interview and gently guide yourself back.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, now that we are all relaxed and very focused and concentrated, I think that Sharon has to tell us a lot about how we as neurodivergents can regulate our nervous system and how it helps us to get into the highest possible vibration on the Hawkins scale, which, in my opinion, is to be authentic. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So much about our daily life is dependent on the state of our nervous system, right? So, right now, if you did find yourself relaxing and relaxed, what you're able to perceive, all your systems are taking it in differently than if you were coming from a more defensive, activated state. So, many of us are not wired like we would want to be, like a safe human being that can regulate itself naturally by itself. This society, we get regulated and wired differently through trauma. And I think some of this might really hit home for a lot of you. So when the brain is being wired and it's in a traumatic, or the body too is in a traumatic state, it's in rigidity and chaos. That's what the pathways learn just like AI, right? You train it by doing it over and over and telling it what you want. Well, this little brain and little body don't have a ventral vagal, so it's being trained by its experiences. And if it's living in a household where it's not getting its needs met, and it's not safe for many reasons, chaotic and rigidity is what that brain and body learn. That also affects your social engagement system, your ability to connect verbally with eye contact and other things. That because our ventral vagal is our social engagement, and our emotional regulation is now again in a state not flexible and balanced. It was wired in chaos and rigidity. So we have trouble regulating that, a sense of agency. So we don't feel we have that much control over our lives, like somebody that was wired in a safe home and they feel loved and supported. That's not what happens with a traumatized wired system. We also don't have the right memory integrations because the hippocampus gets messed up in its ability to put in memories. So we feel like disoriented, and our ability to see a memory isn't in the past often, especially if it was a trauma memory. It's right there and then, which is why our body responds so strongly and intensely to something, because the body doesn't know that it wasn't right now happening. It thinks it is. It doesn't know that that was 50 years ago. We didn't really get a chance to process and work with that. And this is something that gets brought up a lot, and I think a lot of you can understand this. Self-care and basic functioning. The primitive brain does our sleep, does all of our basic functionings like hunger and rest and digestion and all that stuff. So we tend sometimes to not notice, oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, I need to use the bathroom. Oh, I'm forgot to eat. I'm hungry because we're so those functioning skills and that ability interoceptively, that means can I feel those impulses in my body or have I not wired that? And for many of us, that didn't get wired. So the fact we forget to eat is because weren't even in tune to the body enough to know it's saying, I want some food, nourish me. And those are just some of the things that I'm going to bring up, Tanya, and we can go from there. How's that?
Wonderful. Thank you. So, one thing that comes to my mind as a theory is also how do I define safety? Because when I heard you talking now, the thought that came up in my mind was actually, I do not feel safe from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep because anything can happen to me. If I cross the street, maybe a drunk driver hits me. If I open up my laptop, maybe there is a hateful comment from somebody who's racist. So basically, there is the possibility of good things to come to me, but also there is a constant possibility of negative things to come to me. So how can I regulate this edge between possibility in the negative and possibility in the positive? What is your best advice on this?
Love this question. Thank you. So, yes, safety. That is not a thought. You can look around and say, gee, I should feel safe. But safety is a feeling in the body. When the body lets go, it knows it's held and it knows it's safe, which is why I invited you to orient and notice if the body's given some of the things that it likes, it's in a better environment to possibly let go. But safety happens when you're a very young child and you get activated and somebody comes in and co-regulates with you and calms you, and because you have no capacity to calm. So your body learns to let go and be okay. And it builds the neural pathways for that letting go and feeling safe. So when that adult, hopefully mama, comes and makes you feel safe, when whatever it is that's upset you and has and activated you, you're now trained that body to be safe and gives it its and this takes 17 or more years to build this ventral vagal. which is why I still practice basic foundational somatic work every day to feel safe and build it. Because I didn't just build it at the gym and then I said, well, I built it. Now I'm good. You have to keep it up. And so if you didn't get, and most of us didn't, that co-regulation, that secure attachment, that I am safe in this world, I am loved in this world, and I can come back to safety even when I find out I'm not safe. Something happened, my body can come back down and feel safe.
Perfect. We have been talking about speed because for some of us, it is creating anxiety to hear somebody talking very loudly or fast. But for others of us who are neurodivergent, it's the other way around. When somebody speaks extremely slowly, it triggers a lot of nervous energy inside of me because inside I'm thinking like, give me the information, give it to me faster. I want to know everything about it and I want to know it now. So this is why when I listen to a YouTube interview, I always put it on about twice the time of speed or 1.5 times the speed, because for me, when something is too slow, it triggers me to get actually a little angry. So I have to pull the speed up, but other people they have to pull the speed down to feel safe and to feel good and to feel comfortable. Now, on YouTube, we can do this. We can do our own settings. But sometimes there are platforms where we cannot do it. So what do you think about that?
I want to ask you personally, when we did the guided SE, we slowed the body down. Did that aggravate and make you angry?
It didn't make me angry, but I was, in my brain, due to the ADHD, there is a lot going on. So when you said maybe let your eyeballs drop into the skull and a little back, the immediate scene I had in my head was Itchy and Scratchy beating each other up so that one has the eyeballs back in his head and the skull looking out and stuff like that. So I have the craziest cinema up in my head all of the time. And when you say something like this, it creates pictures in my head. So when some of the things were absolutely fine, where I go like into relaxation, but that was like I had to bring my mind consciously back to the breath and back to what you were saying because it was wandering off into that comic strip.
And so that's a great answer. So in my work, in a nervous system work, in a regulated nervous system, it doesn't mind the slow. In fact, it's looking for that because that is a signal of safety. But a nervous system that was traumatized, those signals of safety mean I'm vulnerable, I'm not safe, holy crap. And so our brain comes in because that's how we try to keep ourselves safe. And we're activated, so we talk faster and we talk louder and we do everything fast and we can't get enough because we're trying to find ways how if I learn enough and I see enough, I can make myself feel safe. Does that resonate?
Yes.
And so your body and your brain was wired. And one of the parts of, and the biggest part of my work is the foundational work. And that's to find out how did your body respond to this touch, to this sound, to this speed. How is my body? And your body will always tell you if you're safe or not. If you're breathing fast and hard and your heart's racing, guess what? Your body's saying, I'm not safe. If you're feeling anxious, it's saying, I'm not safe. If my stomach's turning, I'm not safe. But we start to listen and feel and the messages that your body's saying so that you can know how you can shift that if you want to, if you want to find more peace and less anxiety. But that takes work because you have to do the work to create that. If you don't like the state that you're in now, you can shift that.
I absolutely agree. That's why I go to yoga 3 times a week.
Yay.
I wanted to ask you something that is a little different, a little bit off topic right now. I heard a theory today about patriarchy or misogyny being an egregor. And I found this theory absolutely fascinating because if we can collectively create an egregor, then we can also dissolve it, right? Now, what are your ideas? What comes up in your mind if you think about how do we dissolve or starve this egregor?
Please define egregor for me.
Well, it's a concept from spirituality that you can basically, it's a little bit like summoning a demon. An egregor is, for me, is something that is not physical, but it has the energy of a demon that was summoned. So, like, if a lot of people think about war, if a lot of people think my neighbor is evil and he is the enemy and I have to go to war with him, then the war will come up in society. The war will come in a country where a lot of people carry this hatred and all of these thoughts in their minds and in their hearts. So that is how an egregor is created. Now, if I can create one, I can also starve one. I can also reduce that energy that I put in there. So if we have created this egregor of misogyny and also of patriarchy in the world for thousands and thousands of years, and we, the women, are part of that. I do not say that we don't have our part in that. Yeah, we were supporting that system as well. How
Mhm.
do we starve it? How, what comes to your mind where you say that is one of the most important things, or two or three things that we can do to remove this egregor?
Oh, I love this. I just love your questions. So what we think about, we bring about, right? That's quantum physics that we create with our thoughts and our energy. And our energy was and still is being designed by powerful somebodies, right? That create these patriarchal systems and these whatever we're living in, narcissism and misogynism and everything. We think that's okay because it's been going on for eons and eons, and it's a system that nobody wants to buck, and the people that do buck it get killed. So I believe in what I practice is the power we have is an internal power, the power that we create in our safe space. We can open up our heart and our energy and our chakras to connect to all divine essence, consciousness, source, God, whatever you want to call it. That is true. That is to me heaven on earth, what we were told could be heaven. Um, and it doesn't mean that this has to be important to me when I align with peace, with harmony, with love, and those higher energies. This stuff that we live in and was created doesn't seem to affect me, or I don't buy into it. I don't let it trigger me. So for me, in order to get rid of this egregores, we live in the different state that they wanted. They want us to live in a fear paradigm, an activated paradigm, a controllable paradigm, and we're free agents and we don't have to abide by that. We can live in peace, but it takes work, right? But we can live in our peace. And each one of our souls, I believe, that are living in peace are creating that whole system to just shatter. Like the energy isn't keeping it up anymore if enough of us can be in a different energy. And that's how I see it.
Wonderful. So I do pray that in the future, in the most near future, all beings on earth, not only the humans, but also the animals and the plants and every being has peace in their hearts, love, shelter, water, food, access to anything they want. Because I think after so many thousand years under this oppression of the archons, we as a collective, and I include everything, also the animals and the plants, we have a right to get our abundance back. And I pray to Yeshua that this will come to pass as soon as possible. Amen.
Amen. And I agree. And in yoga, we do the metta things, right? May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings live in love. May all beings, whatever, be healthy. May and we bring that intention, which creates the energy and the thought patterns to bring it into existence.
Wonderful. I love that. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful talk. Again, we really have to repeat it. As our interview is ending very soon, I will now say goodbye to you and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.